Friday the 13th Part 2 wasn't just a slasher sequel. It was the birth of a legend stitched together with chaos, a killer hiding under a burlap sack, a summer camp by the lake, and teenagers who thought it was just another weekend of fun. But behind the campfire screams, disaster lurked everywhere. The director who made the first film refused to return, the makeup wizard walked away, and a stuntman ended up in the emergency room after a machete stunt went wrong. These are 10 creepiest facts about Friday the 13th Part 2, and hidden deep in the film's history is a lost ending where Pamela Voorhees' severed head was meant to smile back at the audience. Number 1. The alternate ending that vanished. Part 2 almost closed with one of the strangest twists in horror history. The original plan was for the camera to linger on Pamela Voorhees' severed head, resting on Jason's makeshift shrine. Just when the audience thought the nightmare was over, her eyes would suddenly snap open, and her mouth would curl into a smile. It would have turned the film into something supernatural, suggesting Pamela was still alive or haunting Jason from beyond. But director Steve Miner found the idea ridiculous and cut it out. Today, fans still argue over whether that ending would have been genius or just plain silly. Either way, it remains one of horror's most fascinating what-ifs. Number 2. The painful truth of Jason's sack. Jason Voorhees might have looked terrifying with that burlap sack on his head, but for the stuntman wearing it, the mask was a nightmare of its own. The sack was literally a flour bag with one eye hole cut out, and inside the fabric scratched against his skin until he developed painful burns around his eye. Things got worse when a machete stunt went wrong, and actress Amy Steele accidentally sliced his finger during filming. He had to be rushed to the hospital for 13 stitches, fittingly 13. Despite the pain, he kept going, stumbling through the woods with limited vision and a sack that reeked of sweat and dust. Fans might laugh at Jason's early look compared to his later hockey mask, but that crude sack came with very real blood and scars. Number 3. Alice's shocking exit. The first movie ended with Alice Hardy as the lone survivor, the girl who managed to take down Jason's mother and escape Camp Crystal Lake. Audiences expected her to continue as the hero in Part 2. Instead, she shows up in the opening minutes, only to be killed off almost immediately. The decision shocked fans, but behind the scenes the story was darker. Actress Adrienne King was dealing with a real-life stalker and wanted her role cut short to protect her safety. Some also say money disputes were involved, since the sequel began production before the first film's box office success. Whatever the reason, Alice's quick death felt like a betrayal for fans who rooted for her. It set the tone that no one was truly safe, not even the original final girl. Number 4. The anthology that never happened. Here's something most people don't know. Friday the 13th wasn't originally meant to be a continuing saga of Jason Voorhees. Paramount's plan was to release a new horror story every year, each one tied to the date Friday the 13th, but completely different in plot and characters. An anthology, like a series of campfire tales, but when the sequel rolled around, they decided to focus on Jason, the son of Pamela Voorhees, instead of trying something brand new. That one choice changed horror history. Imagine if the series had gone the anthology route. No hockey mask, no Crystal Lake, no endless sequels about Jason. Interestingly, Halloween tried the same experiment a year later with Season of the Witch, and it bombed. Maybe Paramount made the right gamble after all. Number 5. The makeup artist walkout. Special effects legend Tom Savini helped make the first Friday the 13th unforgettable, especially with its shocking final jump scare. Naturally, fans expected him back for Part 2, but Savini hated the idea of Jason suddenly being alive and grown up, so he turned the sequel down. Paramount then reached out to Stan Winston, the man who would later create the Terminator and the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. For a moment, Jason's look was in Winston's hands, but he left for another project. That left Carl Fullerton to design Jason's outfit, plain overalls and a burlap sack. It may not have been glamorous, but it gave birth to Jason's first true look. Sometimes horror icons aren't carefully crafted, they're cobbled together because the right people walked away. Number 6. The rejected poster that spoiled Jason. Before the movie even hit theaters, its first poster nearly ruined the surprise. An artist designed a dramatic image showing Jason, sack pulled from his head, attacking a victim in a canoe. The problem? That drawing revealed his face, the big shock audiences weren't supposed to see until the final act. The studio panicked, scrapped the artwork, and replaced it with something far duller, a plain black background with only the movie's title. Fans later found alternate posters from Japan and other countries that looked way better, leaving many to wonder why Paramount settled for the most boring design imaginable. In the end, the US audience got mystery, but they also got one of the least inspiring horror posters of the 80s. Number 7. On-set injuries and dangerous pranks. The terror of Part 2 wasn't limited to the script. The cast lived it too. Adrienne King, who returned briefly as Alice, was actually injured when a prop ice pick failed to retract properly, stabbing her for real. Meanwhile, other cast members turned their cabins into a prank war zone. One night, actors scratched at co-star Lauren Marie Taylor's window until she panicked so badly she nearly fainted from hyperventilating. Even Jason's actor wasn't spared, enduring cuts, burns, and hospital visits during filming. For a movie about young people being hunted at a summer camp, the real set wasn't that far off. Life imitated art, and nobody walked away without scars. Number 8. Banned by the MPAA. If the kills in Part 2 feel quick and less bloody than expected, there's a reason. The MPAA, the board that controlled film ratings, threatened to slap the movie with an X rating unless the gore was toned down. The infamous double impalement scene, where two characters are skewered together, nearly killed the film's release. To survive, the producers hacked away at almost every death, leaving only glimpses instead of the lingering, shocking moments that horror fans craved. The result? A tamer movie that frustrated audiences and set a pattern for future sequels, constantly battling censors. Hidden away in vaults, the original uncut footage still teases fans who dream of seeing Jason's rampage in its raw, unfiltered form. Number 9. Box office face-off with Halloween 2. When Part 2 hit theaters in May of 1981, it wasn't the only slasher sequel making noise. Just a few months later, Halloween 2 arrived in October, perfectly timed for the spooky season. The two horror giants went head-to-head at the box office. Halloween 2 pulled in over $25 million, while Friday the 13th Part 2 earned about $21 million. On paper, Michael Myers won that round. But Jason refused to stay buried. With each new film, his legend grew, and by the time the hockey mask appeared in Part 3, he was already becoming the face of the slasher craze. Number 10. The hairy Jason fans hate. Part 2 also gave fans a shocking first glimpse of Jason's real face. When the sack was finally pulled off, audiences saw a disfigured man with long red hair and even a scruffy beard. Hardcore fans hated it. This wasn't the monstrous figure they expected. It looked almost goofy. Later sequels quickly retconned the look, shaving Jason bald and giving him the twisted skull-like face we know today. But that hairy reveal remains one of the strangest moments in the franchise, a reminder that Jason's identity wasn't fully formed yet. Sometimes legends stumble before they become icons. Friday the 13th Part 2 may not be the most polished slasher, but it marked the turning point where Jason Voorhees stepped out of the lake and into horror history. From botched posters and cut endings to real injuries and censorship battles, the film was stitched together through chaos. Yet without this messy sequel, there would be no hockey mask, no unstoppable killer, and no franchise that shaped decades of horror. It's proof that even imperfect films can create legends. So next time you hear the wind in the trees, remember Jason's story began with nothing more than a burlap sack and a blood-soaked summer at Crystal Lake.